the first 3D gun, and he currently runs the
states in this country who sued me, this so-called free country.
What got you into 3D printing guns?
I got my cease and desist from ATF.
If ATF kicked in your door and they found this, what kind of time would you be looking at, you think?
I don't even know.
Don't even know.
Probably, yeah.
How do you walk the line between freedom and danger?
It is a line, and we stay within a conscious vocabulary because in American libertarian politics and political life, the gun is an important thing. I'm on your side if you
for sure, yeah.
It's more important for me to convey that than some deeper feeling about these things.
Ghost guns, untraceable weapons, a threat to the system. And thanks to advancements in 3D printing, the power to create a gun has been democratized to anyone with a couple $1,000. Now, is this a Second Amendment right that the Founding Fathers outlined for us in the Constitution, or is this a dangerous public safety nightmare that needs to be heavily regulated or altogether outlawed? Today, we take a deep dive into this world. We sit down with Cody Wilson, a controversial figure who invented and printed the first 3D gun, and he currently runs the biggest ghost gun company in the United States. We speak with Michael Cargill, a gun rights activist who took on the ATF all the way to the Supreme Court and won. And finally, we go underground to interview a 3D gun printer running a highly illegal ghost gun enterprise. But before we start, first a quick disclaimer and a message from our sponsor. This video is for documentary purposes only and should not be viewed as a guide for manufacturing weapons. Please consult and adhere to all applicable laws regarding firearm ownership in your area. Thank you. And now for the sponsor of today's video. Today's video is sponsored by CyberGhost VPN. With over 38 million users, CyberGhost is one of the most trusted VPNs on the market. It has a near perfect rating on Trustpilot, and PCMag rated it as excellent. Fortunately for most of us watching this, incognito mode does not protect you. Your internet provider, Wi-Fi, workplace can still track your movements even with incognito. The bad news is, I guess I'm not running for Congress anymore. But the good news is, there's a way to protect yourself going forward. This is where CyberGhost VPN comes in. It encrypts your internet traffic and reroutes it through secure servers located around the world, which gives you real security and real privacy. And with CyberGhost, you can access your favorite streaming platforms like Disney+, Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon Prime, and even content from other countries. It works on up to 7 devices, so this is a perfect service for friends and family to share. And viewers of this video get an exclusive deal. And there's also a 45-day money
For the month, yeah.
for the month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, we run the biggest file sharing site in the world.
Creating it is a hobbyist thing, but selling them, the guy that's buying it, usually has a particular reason.
You can go get the idea, I say.
And how do you feel about that?
I don't, really. Does that make sense?
On the website of Cody's company, for free, they have dozens of files that can be downloaded and 3D printed into various gun components. And because it's on the internet, that means that it could be printed by a well-meaning, law-abiding hobbyist gun owner, but it also means that guys like Jay in his garage can build a weapon to sell to a guy planning a murder. And that, in a nutshell, is the crux of the controversy surrounding Cody's mission. Okay, so this is interesting. So this is total downloads of just the digital product you guys have.
For the month, yeah.
For the month?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, we run the biggest file sharing site in the world. On guns.
And of these almost 300,000 downloads, how many of them you think come to fruition with a real operable firearm?
Very few. And this map you're seeing here has gone one step further, and it says the files for these things cannot be left to be downloaded unrestricted to California or to people in Washington.
So is your site blocked in California?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Similar to how Pornhub is blocked in Texas.
It's the same thing. People in the last few years have seen, well, what the I use an ID to use a porn site. It's the same thing now with other forms of information, not just porn. Now gun files are going to be restricted in different states, different ways on the internet. The internet itself is breaking up.
Your company was among the first to have a particular digital download, or the antecedent of what today is the Ghost Gun download. I don't know if I'm hitting that right, but can you...
No, it's interesting to see how you were talking about it. Yeah. And actually that's really smart, because how it was talked about in 2013 was, this is the first 3D printed gun. Well, what was the real innovation? I think it was the first 3D file for a 3D printable gun. It was the first gun you could go download. It was the first gun you could think of, hey, where do I get that gun? Oh yeah, I go online to get that gun. I'm going to pull this out for you. This is actually the first 3D printed gun. This doesn't get
It don't look like shit.
Love these days, but it's the Liberator. We named that gun that way to give it a big brand name, sure. To also give it a little historical echo, to give it a personality, because it conveyed that the guns of this future, of a 3D printable future, are guns with personality. guns with meaning, with destiny.
Right.
They're not just commercial products in the age of mechanical reproduction. Now they're strange spiritual products in the age of digital reproduction. You know, the guns are liquid information. That was the point of that message, the point of that exercise, and to also confuse the object in the Second Amendment with speech objects, speech actions in the First Amendment, to blend that First and Second Amendment,
Right.
and to say something to government. Hey, regulate this.
Folks, here's a quick refresher on American history. The Second Amendment doesn't just say you can own a gun, it protects the right of people to keep and bear arms, stating
Right.
clearly that this right shall not be infringed upon by the government. And these are the lines Cody uses to defend his position. He is essentially arguing that if the government stops you from making a gun, they are infringing on your right to bear one.
This
Right.
represents the kind of murderer's row of the best guns. So FGC9 is probably the best known 3D printed gun, single 3D printed gun, very popular in Europe. 9mm PCCs have evolved since 2020. You know, one of the most recent is this Decker, which is a stranger looking gun, right?
Oh,
But it's
man,
more
that's
true
just
to what
crazy.
3D printed guns are. So stuff, these things aren't as good as commercial guns, right? But there's something kind of amazing about the fact that you can 3D print a real magazine for real bullets. This is
Oh,
entirely
that shit-
printed
that shit-
with the
that shit
spring.
look great.
This is the Urutau. This was designed by a developer in Brazil, and it's probably the most well-known recent printed PCC.
Can you show me the process like from computer to hooking up to like how this gets going?
Basically right here is all the phones.
All these are schematics?
All these ones right here with like the labels on them, it's a G-code, the ones that I've already made. For example, it's for
How encrypted is all this?
I keep it on an external hard drive.
So it has to be plugged into something to even show up on the computer?
Yeah,
That's smart. Are the feds that good at computer stuff like this?
yeah, they are.
And one of the reasons they are good is because they bust guys that are hackers and then get them on their team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this right here.
I like how it says for academia only. Situation is this, there's a Scientology has hired people to stalk my home and I want to take care of them without any issues. Allegedly. Cool.
So, go into that file, and you basically just
Damn. That quick.
So that's it.
sort of with that, and keep putting this together yourself.
Now, what about the computer? I had only this. Forget all the ammo, explosive, all the crazy stuff. I just had a pistol, schematic. How much control would I get? Without actually making it, just having that file on my computer.
No shit.
You actually wouldn't, if it was, as long as it's not, like, fully auto or anything.
So it's legal to have.
Yes, it's legal to make and for yourself, but not,
So for personal use, I could make that gun no issue.
yes,
No problem whatsoever.
no.
And then this hooks up to, you already sent the orders to the printer, so it's already, that's why it's going.
Yes.
So what is the printer making right now?
But right now it's making Block 17, fulfilling Fall 4.
So there's no political motivation, there's no greater purpose or mission?
No, not really.
It's just kind of for entertainment and fun?
Yeah, pretty much.
What is
Pretty
the
much.
your girlfriend if this is one of your main hobbies?
Probably.
So folks, now we've seen a little bit into a mom and pop operation, one-man show, how it looks on the ground level. Let's go back to Austin, Texas, where they're doing it on a large-scale operation and have recently had battles with the Supreme Court. You had a recent Supreme Court case, 2023. Tell me about it and what happened.
There's not much to say. You go to Supreme Court, you lose. That's the education I've got in this country. We were doing something not legal, not technical. This was
Right.
something in the realm of ideas and religion. And when we left, we knew that we had lost. On paper, there are rules and regulations about how you can make a gun in this country, how you can buy one. And the Biden people came in and said, okay, what we're going to do is we'll take the definition of a gun and explode that to mean as many things outside of an actual gun as possible.
Right.
You know, anything's a gun if you think about it.
I got Trump in the back
It's
row.
becoming a gun, or if it could become a gun, or if someone
Trump, that
buys
body.
it because they want to make it into a gun. Well, therefore now, under the law, it is a gun. So they had taken the container of the word
Two
firearm
differences.
and tried to pack as much into that word as possible in the law. Our position was very simple. Doesn't the law mean certain things? Don't words have legal meanings?
Right.
Don't they only mean certain things? Can ATF by itself, without an act of Congress, just say these words mean new things? We say that that's not possible. We go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, well, sometimes the ATF can do that.
My name is Michael Cargill. I'm the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, which is a gun store in Austin, Texas.
You're in a battle with the Supreme Court. Tell us about it.
Yeah, not a lot of people can say that they went up against the United States government. They went up against the Department of Justice, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, BATF. Both administrations, Trump administration and Biden administration, and actually won. It started, back with the Las Vegas shooting. So, Las Vegas, a guy allegedly took an AR and a part, which was a bump stock, and attaches to a rifle. And he used that to shoot, faster, where he would allegedly shot some concert goers there in Las Vegas.
Oh, man.
So because of that, what happened was the government decided they were going to go through the ATF to ban the bump stock. One, how can you go through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, an agency within the federal government, in order to do this? I said, you got to go through Congress if you want to ban something, that people legally own and purchase. What I decided to do was surrender my bump stocks to the ATF when they banned them, and then 30 minutes later, we sued them in federal court. And so we go in the courtroom there, and the judge was like kind of confused. He kind of compared the bump stock to like a shotgun. He said, oh, I get it. It's like a shotgun. You pump it, and then you fire it. It's like, no, that's not it. And then I said, this is a lost case. We're going to lose this case. And so we lost. He ruled against us. And we appealed again to the entire Fifth Circuit, which is heard en banc, which is heard by like 12 or 13 judges. And to me, that was the most intimidating court I've ever been in my life, where you have 13 justices sitting on the dais there, and throwing questions at your attorney left and right. What about this? What about that? Can you do this? What about machine guns? Da 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 da. And my attorney did a great job, and so we won. And not only did we win, the circuit gave us everything. They gave us, the definition of a machine gun. They gave us the fact that the ATF, a federal agency, could not create or write law. And I was like, man, this is awesome. And so the government decided they were going to appeal that case tonight to the United States Supreme Court. It was really exciting to be in the United States Supreme Court. And we won.
What is concerning about the stories of Michael and Cody is their experience with the ATF attempting to create and enforce gun laws. Legally, a law has to go through Congress before the ATF can enforce it. For an example of this, just look at this footage of ATF agents visiting a Navy SEAL.
The reason why we're here is because I'm sure you're aware, just recently the ATF classified the FRTs, the force reset triggers, as machine guns. We are aware that we may have purchased some of these FRTs.
Okay, that's incredible.
And have to pick them up. Take them home.
So I won't be answering any questions today. I don't have any comments on this subject. I'm not giving you anything.
Okay, so you...
Are you refusing to give us the trigger? I'm not refusing anything. I won't be answering any questions.
They were there to confiscate a force reset trigger, a part of the when they bought it. And it shows a disturbing trend, where a law-abiding citizen can be turned into a criminal simply because a federal agency changed its mind without a single vote in Congress. Like, to me, there seems like a light and dark side of what you do. On one end, there's the shits and giggles side of it, where it's just little funny shit. On the other end, someone's gonna get smoked or something like this.